Hare Krishna. Welcome to Tax Guru YouTube channel. This is CA Rohanar Pingle, practicing chartered accountant based in Mumbai, also partner in Motilal and Associates LLP, member firm of Marks Network. Welcome to the video series on GST Disputes Practical Aspects. And in this, we have already covered two topics, one on appearance and then introduction topic. And in today's session, we will cover general principles. So let's directly dive into it. Let me allow to share my screen. Yes. So key learning areas of the session for today, we will discuss principles of natural justice, contents of the notice, contents of the order, then hearing, very important, then duties and powers of investigating authority, duties and powers of adjudicating authority, duties and powers of first appellate authority, and then duties and powers of the tribunal. And then we will also see provisions of Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita 2023, and it is denoted as a BNS. And at the end, we will also see legal magazine. So it will be an interesting session and also a value added. Let's start with it. Principles of natural justice. So here, a reasonable opportunity of being here be served before taking any action is what called principle of natural justice. Comprises three principles. Here the other side, we can say Audi Alteram Partem. No one should be a judge in their own cause. That can be called as in legal language, Nemo Judex Causa Sua. Then reasoned decisions, that is decisions are made with a proper reason. So in any proceeding, authority is need to what hear the other side before arriving at any action or decision. That is important and called as a principle of natural justice. So allegations need to be served with a notice. Next, contents of the notice. What are it? Should not be vague, should clearly spell out what facts of the case, and should contain also relevant statutory provisions that are allegedly contravened by the noticee. So from the notice, we should come to know all these aspects, means what are the facts and what the provisions that are allegedly contravened by the noticee. So that need to be seen whenever that need to be part of the notice. Then, contents of the order. These are should contain findings on the issue raised. Then address the contentions urged by the noticee, and adjudicating authority should apply their mind in issuing the order. So these are the contents of the order. Very important to note whether it is all addressed whenever any order issued. That is content findings on the issue raised, address the contentions urged by the noticee, and adjudicating authority should apply their mind. That is very important. Next, hearing. What is it? Relevant provisions with respect to hearing are contained under section 75, subsection 4 of the CGST Act 2017. So, granted to understand the contentions of the noticee. Means why hearing is granted for this to understand the what is the views, what is the contentions of the noticee to whom the notice is issued. Process of appeal concluded only when last forum hears the matter. Very important. Process of appeal concluded when only when the last forum hears the matter. Next, let's move into the further duties and powers of investigating authority. Let's understand this. No power to collect tax or compel a person to pay tax. Very important. You please note down or take a photo of this screenshot for your ready reference. So, no power to collect tax or compel a person to pay tax. May summon witness and record what statement. May search premises, seize goods, things, and documents. To issue show cause notice based would be information collected by investigating authority. So audit authorities may sort or demand what information for past 6 years, but registered person can only submit last 5 years information. So this can be happen and need to be updated ourselves with a recent law, whatever it may be. So beyond 5 years is a time band. Means it many times happen that a show cause notice may contain that 6 or 7 years to produce the information, but we need to update it. Our consultant should also be updated and should be known that above 5 years we cannot produce anything. So that need to be taken care of. So these are the duties and powers of investigating authority. Let's understand duties and powers of adjudicating authority. So exercise what quasi judicial powers, right? Adjudicating authority what exercise quasi judicial powers, so grants reasonable opportunity of being heard to the noticee, that is follow natural justice principle, conducts what hearing before passing the orders, very important, allows cross examination of witnesses, that is also important, they need to give a time to allow cross examination, consider the facts, allegations, submissions and evidence, and then pass a speaking order. So need to act within parameters of allegations set out in the notice. Very, very much important. They need to act within the parameters of allegation set out in the notice. Section 61 proceedings are to demand what explanation about the discrepancies detected and not to discover the discrepancies. Very important. Let's again read it. Section 61 proceedings are to demand what explanation about the discrepancies that are detected and not to discover the discrepancies. Very, very small difference. Okay. Move further. Let's see duties and powers of first appellate authority. To look into the grounds of the appeal and pass a speaking order. Department has also right to appeal. So permit submission of new grounds or evidence. The first appellate authority will has a means need to permit the submission of new grounds or evidence. They have a power to one can submit the new grounds and evidence. Delay in filing an appeal can be condoned, but the conditions need to be followed relevant to that particular condonation. So moving further, let's understand duties and powers of tribunal. Matters heard by two members bench or single member bench need to be means at least one member, that is single member, or two members must heard the matter. It has both judicial and technical members. Very important. Whenever we receive or whatever we need to know, the judicial and technical members also they are present and that need to be seen. Function as a what? Quasi judicial authority. Final fact finding authority. Yes, tribunal is a final fact finding authority. And question of law will be decided at a high court and Supreme Court level. So delay in filing an appeal can be condoned. Yes, based on the conditions satisfied. Order passed by the tribunal are applicable to where? Before High Court and Supreme Court. Let's see now provisions of Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita 2023, that is one can say in short form BNS. In this, punishment for the offences under BNS 2023 are imprisonment as well as fine in most of the cases. So under this, we will study list of the offences by public servant and list of offences by taxpayer. If you we will say when we see list of offenses by public servant, it is very much less, but when you see list of offenses by a taxpayer, it will be go beyond the 2 slides. So let's understand that also. So list of offenses by public servant: disobeying the law with intent to cause injury to any person, disobeying the directions under the law, framing an incorrect document, unlawfully buying or bidding for what? Property, impersonating as a public servant even if he is not, wearing a grab or carrying token to represent himself or herself as an what? Officer. Very important. We should, as a professional practitioner, as a legal practitioner, we need to know these facts. So what are the offenses? If anything happened in our case, we need to see this. But before that, we should know this. Now, let's see list of offenses by taxpayer. Absconding to avoid the service of summons or other proceedings, non-attendance, omission to produce the documents to public servant, furnishing false information, refusing oaths or affirmation when required, refusing to answer the questions raised by the public servant. It is also one of the offense. Refusing to sign the statement, false statement on oath, then false information with intent to cause another person on whom inquiry going on or summons issued. 10. Resistance to taking the property, obstructing a public servant in discharge of his duties, threat of injury to the public servant, then giving or fabricating false evidence, threatening to any other person to give or produce false evidence, using evidence known to be false, issuing or signing the false certificates, false certificate using as a true, destruction of documents, and intentional insult of a public servant. Very much important. Means even though your assessee, your client is a very clear, but they should also know these facts. So you must at least circulate 1 page or 2 page as a value addition for them also. So these are the offenses we need to be avoided. So you can circulate for your clients or assessee, whatever they are, whatever their intention, but we need to update them also. So now at the end of the session, we'll see legal maxims. A personal right of action dies with the personal. Very important. A personal right of action dies with what? That person. Action should be accompanied by a guilty mind. Very important. Action, whatever action that is that is accompanied by what? Guilty mind. Okay, then only it can be proceed in a contra as a criminal or whatever things. No man shall be condemned unheard. False in one aspect is false in what? All respects. Very important. False in one aspect is false in what? All respects. So ignorance of the facts may be excused, but not ignorance of the law. Very important. We can ignore the facts, but we should not. But it can be excused. That is the say. But we should not ignorance of the law. So no man can be a judge in his own case. That is also very important. New law ought to be prospective and not retrospective in operation. No man can take advantage of his own wrong. So these are all the short legal maxims that are already decided in few of the decisions. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for patient hearing. If you have any questions, observations, suggestions, then please do let me know via WhatsApp, email, or you can also comment below the video. Hope you are getting value addition from all these updates and video series which we are carrying on the Tax Zero YouTube channel. So stay tuned to the Tax Zero YouTube channel. If you are not yet subscribed, then do subscribe and stay tuned always with that. Thank you so much. Bye bye. Take care. See you soon. Hare Krishna.